Hey everyone, welcome to this week's video. This week is Folktale Week, yay! And I'm working on the first prompt. So if you don't already know, Folktale Week is basically exactly what it sounds like. It is a week full of prompts that you illustrate based on folktales. Actual folktales or ones you make up yourself. Doesn't matter. You can do anything. It's Folktale Week. Go crazy. But if you want to know actual information about it, I'll leave a link to the Instagram in the description and you can check it out. So since this is the first video where I'm actually talking, I thought I should do a bit of an intro. Hi, I'm Ant. How are you? I live in Melbourne with my sister and 2 dogs. I like to sleep, drink coffee, mostly sleep. To be honest, I really love sleeping. It is my favourite thing, except for the dogs. And maybe lasagna. Oh my god, I'm Garfield. No, it's okay. Garfield doesn't like dogs. I am not Garfield. So I started my art journey near the end of 2020. I got some paints for Christmas and I just got obsessed. Mostly with buying art supplies, but I also like using art supplies. I mean, I'd say that my comfort zone was Procreate because it has an undo function, which traditional media doesn't. But I also really like pencils, paints, everything in between, except for soft pastels. I know soft pastels are like super on trend at the moment, but I just do not like them. They're dusty, they're smudgy. I don't like the smudgy dusty. I just don't like them. I mean, I'm sure they have a place in the world, but their place is not here. I'm sorry, soft pastels. But everything else is good. Everything else. But I definitely feel the most comfortable with digital art at this point. I really want to find a way to sort of integrate the two, I think. Because I love traditional media. It's so much fun. But I like the stuff that I do digitally a lot better. So yeah, I need to find a way to balance that. So with this particular picture, it's all done in Procreate, but I wanted to have a collage type of effect. I really love collage, but I'm terrible with adhesives. Like, I am a danger to myself and those around me. It is really bad. So I wanted to see if I could do something similar digitally where it's safer, using different paper textures and that kind of thing. And sorry, not to toot my own horn or anything, but how awesome does that wave there look? Like, just that wave there, I'll put an arrow. It is amazing. It looks exactly like a wave, which it's kind of getting away from what I wanted to do with the ripped paper effect, but it just looks so good that I had to keep it. I just really love that wave. I think I actually copy it and paste it a few times because I love it so much. So I was super excited to use these Procreate brushes, and I figured that Folktale Week was the perfect project to use them on. They're by Brush Boy on Etsy. I will leave a link in the description because they're very good brushes and it's such a comprehensive little kit. It's well worth the money. So you can see here that I've put down the crinkly paper texture on a bunch of different layers to make the ocean, but that looks kind of flat and boring. So I made a white layer underneath and used the torn paper brush to make it look like strips of paper for the waves. I may have gone a little bit overboard because I was just having too much fun, but I still kind of like how it came out. So I knew for Folktale Week that I wanted to do something relating to Arthurian legend. I don't know how much you know about Arthurian legend, so I'll just give you a brief overview of the history. So it began as Welsh and British folklore, and then, I don't know, early Middle Ages, this monk, Geoffrey of Monmouth, he wrote the history of the kings of Britain and basically just made a bunch of stuff up based on folklore and, I don't know, just how he was feeling. And it wasn't just about Arthur, it was the history of the kings of Britain from the time the Romans invaded. So right through, you had King Lear in there. It was the first account of King Lear. bunch of stuff that people actually took as history for hundreds of years before they realised that it was absolute poppycock. And by then it was too late. So Geoffrey had all the basics of the story that we know today in there. He had Arthur, Guinevere, Merlin, Morgan Le Fay, and Mordred. Lancelot and the Knights were added later. They were part of the French romances. So we basically know that all that part of the story and the Grail quest and all that is just pure fiction. And after that we get Mallory, which is when the story takes a drastically misogynist turn. So I think it's really good to remember that it was originally based on folklore and that the female characters weren't morally bankrupt. Guinevere didn't have an affair. In Geoffrey of Monmouth, she was kidnapped by Mordred and raped, and that was what caused the battle that Arthur died in. And Morgan Le Fay was a healer. So what I basically wanted to do for Folktale Week was, within the framework of Arthurian legend, tell a story of female versus male power, which sounds super douchey when I say it like that, but it was going to be really cool, I swear. And in that context, I was going to have Morgan Le Fay as the symbol of female power, and Merlin as this sort of shadowy masculine power that's insidious and, works to suppress the female power. You may have noticed at this point that I'm talking about Folktale Week in past tense. That's because I only made it to day 3. I ended up having a cold, my dog was sick, and I think that going into Folktale Week after coming off Drawloween was not my best idea ever. So I decided to call it quits. I still really want to finish it because I love what I've been doing, but I'm just going to do it in my own time and maybe with my own prompts. I don't know. Not that the Folktale Week prompts aren't good. I really enjoyed them and they really fit into the story that I want to tell. The first prompt was Fool. If you remember from the legend, Arthur's father, Uther Pendragon, fell in love with Igraine, who was Morgan Le Fay's mother, but she was obviously married to Galois, who was Morgan Le Fay's father. But Uther was just like, I don't care. I like her. I want her. So he was all like, hey Merlin, bro, can you fix me up with this chick? She's really hot. I really like her. Do you want to glamour me to look exactly like her husband so she doesn't know that she's not sleeping with her husband? It's not rapey at all. It's totally consensual. And Merlin was like, sure, sounds cool. And so he magicked Uther to look like Galois. Igraine slept with him. 9 months later, Arthur was born. And Galois was like, what? I've been off at war for Uther. And Uther was like, well, funny story, buddy. So then there was another war between Galois and Uther. Uther obviously won, and Galois died. So I really like the idea of Morgan Le Fay watching from the tower as Uther Pendragon approaches and realising not exactly what's going on, but that it isn't her father and that something fishy is happening. So I wouldn't necessarily say that either Galois or Igraine are fools in this situation, but they are definitely being fooled. And I really like the idea that Morgan wasn't fooled, that she could sort of see through their plot. I played around with the composition a lot and did so many thumbnails because I knew I wanted the basic elements like the tower and the ocean and the bridge. But I also wanted Morgan and Merlin to be on the same level. I didn't want one higher in the picture than the other. I wanted the emphasis to be on Morgan because she's the protagonist. But I couldn't really get my head around how to fit it all into the picture in that way. But I really liked the composition I decided on in the end. And I like how the moon is sort of the symbol of the feminine power. And the knight, the fake Galois, Uther Pendragon, represents that sort of harshness and violence of Merlin's type of power. And how the moon and the knight kind of balance each other out like Morgan and Merlin are balancing each other out. Like, I know it's super basic composition, but it's something that I'm still learning, so I was really happy with what I came up with. Also, I never realised before this how much fun it is to draw armour. I will definitely be doing more of that in the future. So when I finally get around to finishing Folktale Week, I'll probably just do a wrap-up video of the whole lot, not separate time lapses for each one. Unless that's something you particularly want to see, in which case comment and let me know. Otherwise, for the next video, I think I want to paint something, maybe a dragon, something cool. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more like it, subscribe to the channel. And wow, you guys, this was my first ever voiceover and it was such hard work. Oh my gosh. Listening to yourself talk for 10 minutes straight is so weird. Anyway, thanks for keeping me company. Let me know what you think of the picture and I will see you next time. Bye!